and Jabari got into.
Tell me what you think about what he just said. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Me or the
you?
Oh, me. Okay. What did he just say? Because you had fast forwarded through a couple of things and then I was answering the chat. So I'm sorry.
Okay. That's fine. He was just going over about his relationship with Grace and how he
loved
the
Grace. Red flags.
Right.
I created a timeline, and maybe if you want to collaborate on that, because I do plan on doing a live or episode on that alone, just the impending breakup timeline. I totally believe that. Like I said before, and it just was put to paper once I saw the transcripts and it jogged my memory. And then it was you that showed us that Toronto Film Festival footage. It kind of put it all together because I didn't even know that that's what that picture came from. I didn't, it wasn't, I just was like, oh, that's the only picture of them together. It never connected for me until you mentioned that video. And then I went back, and I think it was during someone else's live, and I looked at the dates. And I'm like, wait a minute, this was just a week before the Coretta King conversation and before he threw her out and broke up with her then. And so I totally believe what he's saying because there were red flags way back in September of 2022 that he had officially broken up with her then. And then come October, Kat had retweeted where someone else said that the Sports Illustrated journalist tweeted that he contacted him and said he's very single. So I'm like, okay. So now the timeline is coming together, and what I assumed in the beginning is true. I only got that assessment just from her testimony. But now that I'm seeing the video that you brought up, the tweet that Kat retweeted, and then I'm doing all the dates and I'm putting all the dates together, and then she testified to when she started talking to Priya Sadiani. And I'm like, okay, so she knew as early as September 2022 that he was over her. And I didn't get where Priya Chaudhry was asking her about the different award shows. I was like, oh, maybe she's just poking fun at the fact that Jonathan didn't invite her to the Oscars and the Sundance. Maybe she just was trying to poke the bear. But then it started making sense when I did the timeline. So I'm like, all right. So yeah, he's totally on point with that. And again, I didn't create that timeline until after this aired. So we can't even say that he's watching Twitter or he's watching social media and looking for cues on what to say, because I published that timeline way after this aired, or during the time it was airing, and it had already taped. So yeah, red flags. He definitely saw the red flags. He tried to diffuse it. And like he said, he didn't have enough courage to just completely dead it. And this is where we are now.
Yeah. And that is key to me. You feel something doesn't feel right. And I think men have a difficult time more of letting go of relationships versus how women can let go, because you let a man breathe wrong. If you're someone who is very secure in who you are, you let a man breathe wrong, you got to go.
Yeah.
Any red flag that comes up, you got to go.
You getting on my nerve. You know what I think it is? Because I've had several men tell me this, and I'm talking grown men, 40s, 50s, like that, have been around for a long time and are from the generation of chivalry and, opening doors and picking you up and that kind of thing. No meeting halfway or none of that. They've told me, and now that I look back, it's true. They would just as soon as, and back when, in the 80s and 90s, well, mostly the 90s, there were no cell phones, there was no social media, there was no email. So they could literally ghost you and you will never ever see them again. Like, legit, stop answering phone calls. If you call their mom's house, tell her I'm not there. that type of thing. And I've had them say that to me, that all I did was I just stopped calling. And if they called a phone number that I would normally be at, I would tell the person to tell them I wasn't there. And that's usually how men deal with situations. They just disappear, or they'll just stop, contacting you. But unfortunately, we're in an age where you can't do that. The best you can do is maybe block a number or change your phone number. But now they're still watching your social media. There's still, six degrees of separation from somebody that that saw you active on Facebook or Twitter, or you know what I mean? It's like you can't hide anymore. So I think that's just men, period, where it was easier, when we were growing up, those of us in our 40s, late 30s, early 40s, maybe even 50s,
Mm-hmm.
it was easier because we could just literally disappear. He couldn't, and then it's probably that, codependency thing too, where it's like, you want to be with somebody and this is your only option right now. So kind of the devil is better than the devil you don't, right?
Right. There's a question for you, Danny.
Can he appeal the verdict and the sentencing, or is it just one? That's a really good question. I need to check that because every state is different. The verdict is the best option to try to appeal, and from what I understand, they're already in the process of that. Let's just hope we don't even get to a sentencing, but I will research that for you.
We need to push the support of